Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first how 19th century hydrofoil tech is slashing electric boat energy use by 80%, disrupting the maritime industry with a 40% cost-saving advantage. We'll explore how this comeback could transform the economics of water transport and reshape green tech industrial policy. Second, why Virginia's data center alley, which powers the AI boom, is creating a strategic single point of failure and resident backlash over soaring energy costs. So we'll discuss why this hyperconcentration matters for US tech resilience and what it means for communities caught in the AI infrastructure gold rush. Third, Microsoft is bringing its flagship Halo franchise to the PlayStation 5, a major pivot after its Xbox was outsold 2-1 by Sony. We'll analyse why this turning point signals a shift to a platform-agnostic future and how it could affect the competitive dynamics of the gaming industry. Fourth, IBM and AMD's breakthrough uses conventional chips to solve quantum error correction, forming a new alliance challenging Nvidia's dominance in high-performance computing. Today we'll take a closer look at this quantum classical hybrid approach and its implications for the race to build a fault-tolerant quantum computer. Fifth, Saudi Arabia is partnering with AI chip firm Groq to build the world's largest inference data center, pivoting from an oil superpower to a computation exporter. In this episode, we'll break down this sovereign AI strategy and what it signals for geopolitical power and the future of global AI infrastructure. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on water travel. The boat you might take on vacation is burning through 15 times more fuel per kilometre than your car. It's a staggering number that has made electrifying water transport seem impossible until now. The core of the problem, is a concept called hull speed. A conventional boat has to push massive amounts of water out of the way, creating a huge wave and immense drag. The bigger the boat and the faster it tries to go, the more energy it wastes just fighting the water itself. That's why electrifying them has been such a challenge. You'd need an impossibly large and heavy battery just to get a decent range. The solution isn't some futuristic invention. It's a technology patented back in 1869, once used by the inventor of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, to set a world water speed record that stood for a decade. It's called the hydrofoil, and it's making a massive comeback. The breakthrough is how it solves the biggest problem with electric boats. Batteries are too heavy. By using underwater wings to lift the entire hull out of the water, these new hydrofoils slash energy consumption by up to 80%. One expert describes them as literally wings underwater. This isn't just a simple wing bolted to a boat. We're talking about a system that's essentially fly-by-wire for the sea. A sophisticated flight control computer takes in data over 100 times a second from a whole suite of sensors, accelerometers, gyroscopes, and even ultrasonic sensors that read the water surface ahead. It then makes tiny, constant adjustments to the angle of the foils to keep the boat perfectly stable, even in choppy water. It's a level of technology you'd expect to find in an aircraft, not a ferry. When the boat lifts up, the ride transforms. The roaring engine noise vanishes, replaced by near silence. Now, while this is a huge win for passenger comfort, some ecologists are raising an important question. They're concerned that the high-speed foils might produce a high-frequency whistle underwater, which could potentially interfere with how marine mammals like dolphins and whales communicate. It's a new area of research that will be critical to watch as these boats become more common. This isn't just a concept. The company Candela is already deploying these all-electric hydrofoil ferries. In Mumbai, they're projected to cut a nearly 2-hour commute down to just 30 minutes. They've sold fleets to operators in Saudi Arabia, the Maldives, and Belize. And in the US, projects are underway from Lake Tahoe to the waters outside Seattle. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play here in the US. A piece of legislation called the Jones Act requires that vessels operating between US ports be built, owned, and operated by American entities. This effectively excludes the Swedish-built Candela ferries from many routes. As a result, we're seeing a parallel track of hydrofoil development in the US funded by state and federal grants to create American-made versions. It's a case where national industrial policy is directly shaping the rollout of this new green technology. What really brought this to a head wasn't just the environmental angle. While traditional ferries are slow and burn immense amounts of fuel, these new flying boats are faster, quieter, and create almost no wake. And the final pitch to cities and operators is a number that's impossible to ignore. a potential cost savings of 40%. The argument is no longer just about the environment, it's about the financials. It has become the right thing to do for the bottom line. Actually, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The hydrofoil revolution is putting immense pressure on the entire maritime industry. We're now seeing established shipbuilding giants like Damen and Austal Racing to catch up. They are launching their own fully electric ferries and even investing in massive high-speed ships designed to run on hydrogen. This isn't just about a few cool flying boats. It's the start of a naval electrification race that is set to transform our waterways. That story was about a leap in efficiency for transport, but our next story is about an infrastructure boom where efficiency is creating a whole new set of problems. In the wealthiest county in America, a single industry now accounts for an incredible 40% of the entire local budget. Welcome to Loudoun County, Virginia, also known as Data Center Alley. This one county has more data processing facilities than all of China, with nearly 200 massive centers powering the internet and artificial intelligence. They take up 45 million square meters of land and more on the way. This hyper concentration, while a symbol of US tech leadership, also creates what experts call a single point of failure. It's a massive strategic vulnerability. The situation presents a fascinating duality. China is actively pursuing a strategy called Eastern Data, Western Computing, deliberately spreading its data centers for resilience, while the US doubles down on concentration in Loudoun. A while back, we talked about the new gold rush for powered land parcels with guaranteed megawatts. Loudoun is the epicenter of that race, and the concentration you see here is what happens when power availability, not just location, becomes the deciding factor. But for the people who live there, this tech boom comes at a staggering price. We previously flagged an 800% spike in a mid-Atlantic power auction as an early warning. The latest development is that the stress has now landed on local bills. An investigation found that in the past 5 years, wholesale electricity costs in areas near these centres have skyrocketed by as much as 267%. So the thing is, the AI boom is incredibly power hungry, as we've discussed before. It's like a city that never sleeps. Virginia's main utility, Dominion Energy, projects an 85% increase in electricity demand by 2038, almost all of it from data centers. To give you a sense of scale, just one new data center project is expected to use as much power as 600,000 homes. The grid is being pushed to its absolute limit. Residents who bought homes next to what they thought were green spaces now find themselves living next to humming industrial blocks. One resident, Greg Pirio, says the constant noise has driven away the local wildlife. His simple observation is haunting. There are no birds around here anymore. Continuing our last discussion about 24/7 loads, those fans don't cycle down. The demand barely sleeps, so neither does the sound. Now, get this. The noise comes from massive, always-on air conditioning fans needed to cool the servers. And while quieter, more efficient solutions like liquid cooling exist, they haven't been widely adopted yet due to high upfront costs. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. When residents look for help, Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, vetoed state legislation that would have regulated the centres. This decision brings into sharp focus the immense political influence of the industry. Research shows that a big tech-backed group called the Data Center Coalition donated over $165,000 to state lawmakers just before a recent legislative session. In that session, 27 bills were introduced to regulate data centers. Only one passed. A few days ago, we mentioned how developers are becoming power brokers, securing megawatts via long-term power purchase agreements, and even turning those rights into tradable assets. That shift helps explain the intensity of these policy fights. If you control the electrons, you control where growth happens. It also feeds the risk we flagged of a private parallel grid where the newest, most reliable electrons get reserved for a few. The industry is seen as the essential backbone of the 21st century economy, creating 74,000 jobs and contributing over $5 billion in labour income to the state. But here's the jobs paradox we need to understand. Many of these are temporary construction jobs. Once a data center is built, its high level of automation means it might only employ 50 to 200 permanent staff, a tiny number compared to a factory on the same amount of land. The push to lead in AI has administrations vowing to accelerate federal permitting for even more data centers. And as we've discussed, the map is being redrawn around powered land. The megawatts arrive first, but far fewer lasting jobs follow. This is the core conflict playing out right now. One resident, Emily Kasabian, bought her dream home 2 years ago, specifically because it was away from the data centers. Now, a sign for a new one has appeared just across the street. She says she wouldn't have bought the house if she had known. Her words capture the fear spreading through the community. The question is, well, do we want to stay in the county? How do we know where we move next? The same thing isn't going to happen. That's the unsettling part of the powered land era. What reads as open space can flip overnight once the power is allocated. Speaking of the immense political and economic power wielded by big tech, one of the biggest players, Microsoft, is making a move that's shaking the foundations of the gaming world. A seemingly impossible collaboration became a reality this week. Halo, the franchise that single-handedly built the Xbox brand, is coming to the PlayStation 5. This is a move that would have been completely unthinkable just a few years ago. Master Chief on a Sony console. So why would Microsoft give up its ultimate exclusive, the series that first broke it into the gaming market? This isn't just about one game. It's a fundamental shift in strategy. Xbox CEO Phil Spencer has been very clear about this, emphasizing the importance of reaching gamers wherever they are, not just on Xbox hardware. The reason is a single stark statistic. Globally, the PlayStation 5 has reportedly outsold Microsoft's Xbox consoles by more than 2-1. Even after Microsoft spent a staggering $69 billion to acquire Activision, the maker of Call of Duty, it's still losing the hardware war. This isn't just a white flag. It's a completely new battle plan. Microsoft is tearing up the old rules of console exclusivity. Microsoft is pivoting to become a platform-agnostic publisher, a lot like EA or Ubisoft. They're changing the definition of winning. This move is a game changer because after the intense regulatory scrutiny of the Activision deal, making high-profile open moves, like this is also a very smart way to show regulators they aren't trying to build a monopoly. The strategy is no longer about selling more Xboxes. It's about getting its games and its subscription service Game Pass into as many hands as possible on any device. Even rivals. Believe it or not, Game Pass is a huge part of their business, accounting for about 20% of Xbox's revenue in recent years. So putting Halo on PlayStation is like a Trojan horse. They sell you one game, get you hooked on the world, and then hope you'll subscribe to Game Pass on your PC or through the cloud to get the rest of the series. The announcement, as one YouTuber put it, broke the internet a little bit, sparking huge debate among fans. While some Xbox loyalists see it as a betrayal, others are calling it a win for all gamers. It's interesting to place this alongside what happened when Sega stopped making consoles and Sonic the Hedgehog went multi-platform. While some longtime fans felt it devalued the brand, it also introduced Sonic to a massive new audience and ensured the character's survival and success for decades. It's part of a bigger trend with PlayStation also releasing some of its biggest hits on PC. The walls between gaming platforms are coming down. The game's executive producer put it plainly, promising a remake that will connect with a new generation of players on their platform of choice. The term remake here is key, since it's a massive technical challenge. The original Halo was built for the Xbox's unique architecture. To remake it for the PS5, developers have to completely re-engineer the game to take advantage of Sony's custom hardware, like its incredibly fast 5.5 gigabyte per second SSD and its immersive Tempest 3D audio engine. It's a high-stakes, expensive project. He says, "We're not trying to rewrite Halo's legacy. We're trying to immerse you in it like never before." We were just talking about Microsoft reshaping its software strategy, but now let's turn to a hardware alliance that could redefine the future of computing itself. A single report just sent two tech titans soaring, with both IBM and AMD shares jumping nearly 8% in one day. The reason? A bombshell development in the race for quantum computing. We previously analysed quantum as the next strategic frontier, with the potential to break modern encryption, and the latest development moves that from theory toward timelines. IBM just confirmed it can use AMD's conventional chips to solve one of the biggest hurdles in the quantum world: error correction. As we've discussed before, error correction has been the industry's brick wall. Today's update is about a better sledgehammer using classical silicon. The challenge with quantum computers is that their building blocks, called qubits, can exist in multiple states at once. But this also makes them incredibly fragile and prone to errors from the tiniest bit of environmental noise, like a stray vibration or temperature change. Without a way to constantly find and fix these errors in real time, A quantum computer is just a very expensive, very cold box that produces gibberish. This error correction problem has been the brick wall for the entire industry. This isn't about some brand new exotic quantum processor from AMD. It's about leveraging existing technology for a revolutionary purpose. Here's where it gets interesting. This is a truly brilliant engineering choice. IBM is using a specific type of AMD chip called a field programmable gate array, or FPGA. Think of it this way. A normal processor, a CPU, is like a factory with a fixed assembly line. A GPU, used for graphics, is a factory with thousands of identical parallel assembly lines. But an FPGA is like a factory made of Legos. You can build, tear down, and rebuild the assembly line on the fly to do exactly the task you need with incredibly low delay. For managing the delicate, time-sensitive state of qubits, that reconfigurable speed is exactly what you need. Continuing our recent discussion about Washington's shift from policing hardware to policing access to high-end compute, note the twist here. IBM says it did this without expensive GPU clusters, sidestepping exactly the choke points policymakers have been tightening. This development is a huge step toward IBM's public goal of debuting a large-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computer by 2029. They've put a date on the calendar for the future of computing. And a while back, we talked about the US exploring direct ownership stakes in quantum firms like IonQ, Rigetti, and D-Wave. Milestones like this could shape where those government term sheets go and how urgently they move. But that's not the whole picture. Solving error correction with classical chips is one piece of a giant puzzle. The other huge challenge is something called qubit coherence, basically. How long you can keep the qubits in their fragile quantum state before they collapse. So while IBM has found a more efficient way to check for errors, they still face the fundamental physics challenge of making their qubits more stable and scalable. The race to 2029 is a marathon, not a sprint. An IBM spokesperson called this a significant achievement, specifically highlighting that it was accomplished without needing expensive GPU clusters. In a field defined by extreme cost and complexity, that statement is a direct shot across the bow at competitors. We recently noted how access to top-end GPUs has become a geopolitical lever. This is also a cost signal and a supply chain hedge. That isn't just a technical comment, it's a strategic one. The king of GPUs for high-performance computing is Nvidia. By teaming up with AMD, IBM is signaling the formation of a challenger alliance. They are essentially creating a new front in the tech wars, pitting an IBM AMD quantum classical hybrid approach against competitors like Google and the dominant influence of Nvidia in the AI and supercomputing space that quantum will need to integrate with. This move doesn't happen in a vacuum, as this isn't just a corporate battle, it's a global one. While the US is relying on these private sector giants to innovate, other world powers are taking a different approach. China, for instance, has made quantum a national priority, investing over $15 billion in state-led initiatives. The European Union has its own billion-euro quantum flagship program. As we noted a while back, that's the national champions model, China dedicating a far larger share of GDP than the US traditionally lean approach, which is why the recent talk of Washington taking equity stakes in domestic quantum players marked such a departure. Pair that with export controls on high-end compute, and you can see the policy and industry tracks converging around the same strategic goal. This alliance between two old guard tech companies is more than just a stock market win. It is a strategic pivot in the quantum arms race, signaling that the path to the next generation of computing might be shorter and cheaper than anyone expected. And given the long-standing concern we covered about quantum's potential to crack today's encryption, compressing that timeline has real national security implications. This partnership could be signaling the PC versus Mac moment for quantum computing. Think about it. Google's approach is more like Apple's, a fully integrated proprietary system where they build everything from the ground up. This IBM AMD partnership suggests a different future, one that looks more like a PC, where you can build a powerful machine using interoperable components from different expert vendors. This modular approach could make quantum computing more flexible, accessible, and could accelerate innovation across the entire industry. If Washington does become a hands-on co-investor as floated a while back, that ecosystem may end up with a public co-architect alongside the private players. The battle for how these revolutionary machines will be built is just getting started. That IBM AMD alliance is a strategic play for the future of high-performance computing. And speaking of which, our final story is about one nation's audacious bid to shift from an oil superpower to a computation exporter. The most unexpected news in the AI world today has to be this. Saudi Arabia is teaming up with AI chip company Groq to build what they're calling the world's largest inferencing data center. It's a complete reimagining of the kingdom's economic power, a core part of its Vision 2030 plan to move beyond oil. A while back, we talked about how energy-rich nations were turning surplus power into AI gravity. This Groq tie-up is the clearest proof point yet. This isn't just a side project. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is reportedly planning to invest up to $100 billion to develop AI, infrastructure, startups, and talent. This is a full court press to become a global AI player. As we noted a while back, this is how AI infrastructure becomes the new oil capital lining up behind powered land, not just apps. The strategy is a massive pivot. Groq CEO Jonathan Ross lays out the logic. It's cheaper to move data to where energy is abundant than to transport the energy itself. He calls the Middle East the ideal place for this massive build out because its energy is underutilized. The new plan isn't exporting energy, it's exporting computation. We previously analyzed how the real game is who controls the megawatts. The latest development is Saudi turning those megawatts directly into exported compute. Now, this focus on an inferencing data center is a very specific and very clever bet. For months, the world has been obsessed with AI, training the incredibly power-hungry process of teaching models like ChatGPT, which relies on chips from companies like Nvidia. But Saudi Arabia is betting on the next step, inference. That's the actual process of using the AI to get an answer or generate content. Groq's chips, called LPUs, are designed for exactly this. They are up to 10 times more energy efficient and can generate answers at speeds of 500 tokens per second, while the GPUs used for training chug along at 10 to 30. A while back, we said training was hogging the spotlight. Today's update is a sovereign scale shift toward industrialized deployment. The financial stakes are astronomical. PwC estimates AI could inject a staggering $320 billion into the Middle East economy, and Saudi Arabia is targeting $135 billion of that for itself by 2030. We've also been tracking how private capital is formalizing around powered land as its own asset class. This is the kind of deal that makes that thesis concrete. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. The CEO of a state-backed AI company, Humane, just declared their ambition to become the third largest AI provider in the world, right behind the United States and China. Last week, we contrasted big tech's different build-outs from Meta's US-centric approach to Google's new India hub. Today's twist is a sovereign taking the driver's seat. This is what experts are calling a sovereign AI strategy. It's not just about business, it's about geopolitical power. By aiming to control a huge portion of the world's AI application capacity, the kingdom is positioning itself to be as essential to the digital economy as it has been to the oil economy. It's a move that mirrors China's push for tech self-sufficiency and Europe's for digital sovereignty. And remember, we warned before about consolidation risks, sovereign-backed platforms and private credit titans, hardwiring and interlocked AI utility. This push moves Saudi further down that path. But this is a high-stakes gamble. A major challenger is right next door. The United Arab Emirates is currently leading the region's AI race, and some projections show AI contributing a larger percentage to its economy than to Saudi Arabia's. And there's a critical environmental question. Can an arid country provide the massive amounts of water needed to cool these power-hungry data centers? We recently focused on how the frontier favors countries that can underwrite guaranteed power at scale and fast. That's the race Saudi is running. Interestingly enough, they might not need to. While traditional data centers use massive amounts of water for evaporative cooling, the industry is rapidly moving toward advanced waterless cooling technologies. We're talking about closed-loop liquid cooling, where coolant is circulated in a sealed system, or even immersion cooling, where servers are literally submerged in a non-conductive fluid. Companies like Microsoft are already using these systems in places like Arizona, saving millions of litres of water. This is the key to making these mega projects viable in the desert. As we've said before, this isn't just a tech story. It's a building cycle story, reshaping where development happens for decades. Those challenges haven't slowed the momentum. The kingdom has already poured $1.5 billion into Groq alone to expand its efforts. This isn't just about building hardware. The investment is also funding a new custom large language model, one specifically optimized for interfacing with the kingdom. It's exactly the sort of powered site build-up we've been watching capital formalize into a standalone asset class. But here's where we have to pause and think about the wider implications. Creating a state-backed AI trained to give appropriate answers for the region raises serious ethical questions. In a monarchy with tight media controls, who defines appropriate? There's a real risk that such a system could be used for censorship or to reinforce state narratives. This is the delicate balance Saudi Arabia must strike, fostering genuine innovation while navigating the immense responsibility of controlling a powerful, state-tuned AI. As we cautioned a while back, deals like this don't just build servers, they hardwire who holds the power. This is a multi-billion-dollar push to transform from an oil superpower into a global AI powerhouse.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.